Hello! Today we will be presenting book recommendations from our collection for the lovable characters from the TV show Community. If you're a fan of the show or just want to learn more about the mindset of our favorite Greendale Community College crew, keep watching. Community ran for 6 seasons, from 2009 to 2015. It had a core group of loyal fans, which helped to keep it on the air for as long as it did. Now, with the availability of streaming services, a whole new group of people are discovering this series for the very first time. Welcome to Greendale, you're already accepted. This comedy series revolves around a group of students who form a study group to help them learn Spanish, and despite their differences, become friends. Throughout the seasons, they are roped into wild and unpredictable situations, mostly by the dean of the college, and also must deal with the antics of their mentally unstable teacher and eventual classmate, Ben Chang. All 6 seasons are available on DVD to borrow from our collection, or you can stream the series on Netflix or Prime Video. Let's take a closer look at each of the main characters. At the beginning of Community, we learn that Jeff Winger has been disbarred after his law firm discovers his college degree was fake. Jeff states multiple times that his goal is to finish his degree as quickly as possible and return to law, so our first recommendation is the book Law, A Very Short Introduction by Raymond Wicks. We figured this would be a good refresher text for Jeff on his return to law after spending 4 years at college. The second recommendation is Real Influence by Mark Colston and John Ullman. Since Jeff is quite practiced at using his words and influence to get people to do what he wants, we thought that maybe this book will help him to use those powers for good. After Jeff graduates, he doesn't get rehired to his previous firm, and instead reluctantly takes a teaching position at Greendale to help him pay his bills. Jeff quickly realizes that he doesn't really know anything about teaching, despite graduating with a degree in education, and spends most of his classes showing students Planet Earth videos. With that in mind, we figured that Jerry D's book, Teaching is Harder Than It Looks, might be a good choice for Jeff. Worried about failing her first Spanish test, Britney Parry reluctantly takes Jeff's suggestion to join his study group and becomes close friends with all of them. Throughout the series, she often speaks about her unsettled past, having lived in New York, and her activism and anarchist group memberships. Early in the series, we see Britta participating and supporting various fundraising and activism efforts at Greendale. In keeping with her ideals, we are recommending The Everyday Activist by Michael Norton. This book will help keep Britta grounded as she finds new and positive ways to save the world. The second book recommendation is The Little Book of Cannabis by Amanda Siebert, since Britta often speaks openly about her recreational use of marijuana, even with Shirley's abject disapproval. In keeping with Britta's distrust of organizations, especially government and religion, she identifies as an atheist, and of course enjoys flaunting it every chance she gets. So, the last book we're recommending is The Happy Atheist by P. Z. Myers. Hopefully this book will help Britta to find some peace within her atheism, and maybe stop judging the religious choices of the rest of the group. Annie Edison ends up at Greendale after finishing rehab for an Adderall addiction in high school. Although she is young, she's also highly driven to succeed, which is why she joined the study group in the first place. She is the driving force behind any actual studying or completion of group projects, and is always striving for top marks in everything that she does. Fittingly, our first recommendation is Ace Any Test by Ron Fry. With this book, Annie can now study on how to study. It's so meta. In addition to being driven, Annie is also very organized. In several episodes, we see that she organizes everything into binders, which she is able to produce at any moment, like the wedding binder during Shirley's engagement, or her ideas binder as part of the Save Greendale Committee. We are recommending Journal Me Organized by Rebecca Spooner for Annie, so she can find new ways to help organize all her thoughts and ideas. After graduating from Greendale with her degree in healthcare management, Annie is unhappy with her pharmaceutical sales position and decides to re-enroll at Greendale, this time studying something that she is more interested in, forensics. Our last book recommendation is Science 101 Forensics by Edward Ricciuti, which would be a good introductory text for Annie as she begins this new chapter. Abed Nadir originally enrolls at Greendale to study business so he can take over his father's falafel business when he graduates. However, it quickly becomes clear that Abed's real passion is television and film, and with his father's approval, he switches his major to film studies. To help Abed's chances of making it big in Hollywood, We recommend the book Secrets of Breaking into the Film and TV Business by Dean Silvers. This will help him learn how to get his film seen by the right people. The second recommendation is the movie Die Hard, starring Bruce Willis. Abed is a huge fan of this movie, going so far as to avoid eating at the restaurant Senior Kevin's because the manager told him it was a terrible movie, and also suggesting to the group that they do a Die Hard themed Christmas party. Although never stated clearly by Abed, it is frequently hinted that he has some form of autism. Throughout the series, Abed demonstrates amazing observational skills, but he has difficulty understanding social or emotional cues, often asking the group if he's understanding them correctly. The third recommendation we are making is The Dictionary of Body Language by Joe Navarro. It may help Abed to better distinguish how people around him are feeling. Early in the first season, we learned that Troy Barnes was a high school football star who lost a scholarship opportunity in a freak keg flip accident. After enrolling, he admits that he faked his injury because the pressure was too much. Later, Troy begins playing for the Greendale Human Beings, and since the team is so terrible, there's no pressure to win. We thought that Troy might be able to get some inspiring words from John Feinstein's book, Quarterback, which may help improve the team's chances of winning a game or two. One of Troy's other favorite things to do with his best friend Abed is to make forts. They even attempted to break the Guinness World Record. However, the decision to make a pillow fort or a blanket fort led to the Greendale Great Fort War, which nearly ended their friendship. The book Blanket Fort by Grackle and Pigeon could give Troy and Abed new inspiration for their next fort. The last selection is Black Wave by John and Jean Silverwood. This is a memoir of a family who sailed around the world and the lessons they learned to survive at sea. This book will help Troy when he leaves the study group to sail around the world with LeVar Burton in order to fulfill the bequeathment request of Pierce in Season 5. Shirley Bennett enrolls in Greendale after discovering her husband has left her and her 2 boys for the woman he cheated with. She decides that she wants to be able to provide for her family by running her own business selling her famous brownies. Start Up and Run Your Own Business by Jonathan Ruvid would be a perfect choice in addition to her Greendale education to help her begin a new business. Shirley is also a devout Christian, even trying to convert members of the study group at times. The second book we're recommending is Jesus Speaks by Stephen K. Scott. This book has 365 daily devotionals that can provide guidance and encouragement for Shirley, which she may need with this group. As a mother of 3 boys, baby Ben is born during Season 2, Shirley is trying to balance her school schedule and raising her boys, sometimes feeling like she's letting down her family. As such, we recommend Intuitive Parenting by Deborah J. Snyder, which will remind Shirley to listen to the wisdom of her heart while raising her kids. Pierce Hawthorne has been a Greendale student for 14 years and has taken almost 80% of the classes offered, sometimes taking classes twice. He tries to be hip and cool like the younger members of the study group, but often makes outdated comments that are offensive to people. To try and help Pierce improve his social ties and learn more appropriate ways of communicating, we're recommending How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Another area Pierce has difficulty with is technology. We see him struggle with voice command on his mobile phone, asking for help in retrieving photographs from his drone, and wanting to use a specific computer in the library because his email is saved on that one. We thought we would give Pierce a little help by recommending Android Phones for Seniors by Nick Vandrome, which will provide step-by-step guides for specific features on his phone. The last selection is Run Your Business, Don't Let It Run You by Clay Maythel. After Pierce's dad dies, we learn that he never actually ran the Hawthorne Wipes Company. His half-brother Gilbert did. This book will give him some tips on how to actually help run the family business. At the beginning of the series, Ben Chang, who goes by Chang throughout most of the series, is a mentally unbalanced Spanish teacher at Greendale, with some questionable teaching methods. We soon find out that not only does he not have any teaching qualifications, but the only Spanish he does know is what he picked up watching Sesame Street. In light of this, we highly recommend DK's 15-minute Spanish audiobook, so Senior Chang can learn some new Spanish vocabulary. After losing his teaching position, Chang hatches an elaborate plan to take over the school. As such, the second recommendation is How to Be a Dictator by Frank Diekhofer. This book takes a deep dive into the cult personality and founders of modern dictators. After nearly blowing up Greendale during the height of his dictatorship, Chang is driven away from the college and is later found by the police with no memory and suffering from Changnesia. During several episodes, we see Chang relearning basic things, like how to use a water fountain, how to throw a frisbee, and how to wear a hat. The third recommendation is The Illustrated Encyclopedia of Knots by Jeffrey Budworth, which comes directly from the episode Intro to Knots. In this episode, the study group discovers that Chang can't remember how to tie a knot, which nearly causes them to fail their history paper. Dean Pelton is ultimately responsible for the running of Greendale Community College. He enjoys interacting with most of the students on campus and has a real soft spot for the study group, and especially Jeff. Unfortunately, Dean Pelton doesn't have particularly strong leadership skills and is frequently concerned about whether people think he's a good dean. We thought that we would start by recommending Good Boss, Bad Boss by Robert I. Sutton, so that the dean can learn how to be more effective in his position. Another quirk of the dean's is that he enjoys dressing up in outrageous costumes to deliver news to the study group. For example, he once dressed up as Tina Turner to remind people to Tina Turner, the clock's ahead, for daylight savings time. As such, we thought the book The Illustrated Encyclopedia of Costume and Fashion by Jack Kaysen Scott might help him to prepare new and interesting costumes. Dean Pelton decides to bring Greendale into the future by purchasing a virtual reality machine in Season 6. He giddily tests the device where he is awestruck by the virtual environment and refuses to leave. We decided to recommend the book Virtual and Augmented Reality for Dummies by Paul Mealy to teach Dean Pelton how he can actually apply these technologies to his school. Remember to find your next great read on one of our digital platforms or by browsing our physical materials in Branch, all for free with your Halton Hills Public Library card. Happy reading!